I will declare that it is good to be home, Alice. I actually interviewed an interesting guy today running for state senate against really a total DB in Connecticut.
That's great.
Yeah, it is great, and it was just fun. His name is Dan Miressi, and he is running. He's 32 years old. Just got into politics for the first time. Just kind of finding his own way, talking to people, hustling. And he is a KMS fan, Alice. So the first Minahan disciple now is out there. And
I think we should start an army of Minifans running for public office, honey. I think our country could only get better.
Well, it's interesting because if Kirk caught onto this guy, the guy needs help. There's two of them. It's him and his manager, handler, partner, whatever, named Liam.
And they both like KMS?
Oh, I don't know. But,
okay.
But this guy is like, he's working hard. He's hustling. He's not doing what normal people do. They don't have loads of door knocking people. He doesn't have state help from the parties necessarily. There's some the Trumpy candidates are helping him. But I mean, you're familiar with this, where you thought there was supposed to be help, there isn't, and so he's just hustling. So
that's awesome. How exciting!
So it was very funny at some point. He said like my best bet is to use social media to get out there, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, yeah, but I understand that, but you're going to have to be trying to get voters who voted for Ronald Reagan to vote for you as well. And he astutely pointed out that's why he was on my show.
That was his outreach to the olds.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And coming on AM Talk Radio.
I mean,
it makes sense.
It's smart, and it's an interesting...
You have an insanely big following. I've glanced through your ratings, which I'm not allowed to say much about, but I will say that your ratings amongst the elderly are really phenomenal.
Thank you. I'll take it. But what's interesting about it is that, I mean, this is a total... Can you talk again?
Yes, I can talk again. What's wrong? Is something happening over there?
No, you're just lower than you are. That's my fault.
I look fine on mine.
No, so it's interesting. He's brand new. He, when he gives, he's only given a couple of speeches, like Republican State Committee or town committee speeches, or an official thing here and there. He wears a suit, but mostly he's just in a tank top, a Captain America tank top or something like that. You would think that this is when he walks out of a place, because he does a lot of social media. He and Leah, his partner, they do social media wonderfully. So he's walking out of buildings all the time. It's right out of Portnoy. He might as well be saying, the rules, one bite with pizza. Mm-hmm. But he's doing it. He's going out there and doing it, by messaging. It's for a Republican candidate for state senate. It is unheard of. He's on it. But if they got juked by the, it would mean something.
Some money and stuff.
Well, or certainly some money. But if the Minifans got it behind him, that would be.
Well, yeah. I mean, so the thing is, and I'm conflicted about money in politics. Mm-hmm. I think bring on the money in politics, frankly, but money's interesting because it doesn't work quite as well as a lot of people want to believe it does, including people that are opposed to money in politics and people that are against money in politics. I think Bloomberg in the presidential election in 2020 was a really good test case for how far money can get you, because he essentially threw all the money available at the problem. Right. And he got to 15%.
He won Guam or something, I think.
Maybe. I mean, so maybe he could go personally
there was
talk
no
to
ROI.
Everybody on Guam. Right. So, and he spent what? Did a $500 million or something insane, just on a primary that didn't even get to the end of the primary, whatever. Anyway, so, it doesn't quite get you there, but especially in small races, a little bit of money makes a huge difference. And I'm not talking about these people, there's a whole class of grifters, both left and right, who run for absolutely completely unwinnable seats in unwinnable districts that just are hopeless, but they run against people that are famous. They'll run against Mitch McConnell, or they'll run against Beto is a good example of this. His race was not winnable. He did about as well as you could do in that race. It was not a winnable race, and I mean, he spent a ton of money there, but I hesitate to even class him with the real grifters who run against Mitch McConnell in an unwinnable race, or these people. What's the one? The Baltimore one, Kim Classic. Classic.
Yeah, it sounds right. Yep.
Like they just what these people do, left and right, who are running for these offices that are unwinnable, is they put out a bunch of really kind of polished, exciting ads that say, you know, I'm gonna get so and so out of Congress, like insert person that the other team hates. You know, here, put Mitch McConnell, or I'm going to get rid of AOC, or I'm going to get rid of whoever, right? So you put in, you know, it gets out there and it gets people excited on social media, and your campaign brings in a ton of money into an unwinnable district, and then you like hire a bunch of your family members to work for your and friends to work for your campaign and pay them a lot of money to do it. So that's kind of how that works. But realistically, like, I haven't looked at this guy's district. He's running against the Senate Majority Leader.
Yes, it's a nice district
in Connecticut,
right?
I don't know, like, but I don't know how the district skews or like or anything about it. Like, you would have to look like precinct by precinct and like who voted for who and the history of it, and you would have to understand the voters, which I don't because I'm not local to there. But in small races, and state Senate races are small, right? You know, you're talking, you could lose by a margin of a few thousand votes. And in those kinds of races, like, the money that you can spend makes a huge difference, because you're talking about like the ability to print a bunch of postcards to take door to door. You're talking about the ability to take out ads in a newspaper or ads on local TV or radio, so people even know you exist, because people don't even know these races are happening in large part, right? So there's stuff like that, you know, the ability to make buttons to wear or materials to hand out, like yard signs. Lawn signs can be expensive, you know. That's the stuff that, like, you if you're starting from scratch and you have no money in your campaign, that's the stuff that's like hard, much less like paying for a database to be able to go and talk to voters. I know the Massachusetts GOP like pays for one that they give to all the candidates because they know all the candidates are so underfunded they can't afford that on their own. The Massachusetts Democratic Party charges people an arm and a leg to even like use their special voter database that has all the information and demographics and stuff. So I don't know, those small races, there's a lot of sort of tactical stuff that needs to happen, but you never know because things swing weirdly. Look at that New Jersey race, right? In the New Jersey primaries, in the New Jersey off-year race that was the same night as the Virginia race, remember last year? And it was, the New Jersey race was supposed to be like not winnable, the governor's race. So nobody put money into New Jersey because he was like 10 points behind or something. It was like, forget it, in all the polls. He came really, really close. Like, I forget exactly what it ended up being, like a point away from winning the race. And that was without all the money in there. And there, I believe it was either their like state house majority leader or their state Senate majority leader, one of the two. Somebody lost their seat to like somebody who was like a truck driver and spent $200. So, you know, it can happen. People can just get mad. It happens from time to time that there are like wave years.
AOC, who beat Joe Crowley, who was in the hierarchy with Nancy Pelosi. He was in the inner sanctum.
Right.
He was going nowhere, but he looked past her. He just
didn't think about it. Yeah. So, I mean, weird things can happen. I wish the guy the best. I think it's awesome. I haven't listened yet to your chat with him. I kind of want to go hear it because I'm interested. Because I love younger people.
At the moment, there's 4 hours of the show. The 3 without him are posted. So we'll see.
So anyway, I'll, you know, well, I hope it gets posted because I'd like to hear it because I'm interested. I think more young people who aren't political should be in politics. And you think I'm kind of joking that the fans should all run for office. But I think that, like, that would be a breath of fresh air, honestly.
Well, I'll tell you, what I'm interested about, first of all, you can tell he's been a talk radio listener. He has been. But he's also, he grew up in a nice town but went to Framingham State, Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's not great. But he's a hockey kid. So he played hockey. Hockey wasn't a great student, but hockey saved him. Kind of, you know, after playing a little hockey, not pro, you know, kind of dumped out into his 20s, finding his way, doing jobs here and there. He worked, he used to set up tents, like the same way I used to set up
banquets,
the same thing, you know, set up tents here and there, etc. He worked with all sorts of guys from other countries, got to know them. It's an interesting and familiar story. But he's in the total mold of, like I said, a barstool person. But nothing thuggish or punkish about him. But friendly, smiling, not offended by anything. You could tell that we had callers for him who were vicious, that he would have been able to handle it. He's got that thing from the Barstool, KMS world where you don't let stuff bother you. If you're going to play that game, you don't let stuff bother you. So it's a great skill set. He doesn't have, I don't think he has, but I think he's learning all these kitchen table water rates on the specifics. Probably the incumbent could run circles.
Yeah, but he's a
philosophical guy. But he's positivity and philosophy, and one of the things he does is that he'll go to for an answer, which I don't think is bad, is he'll say the way you fix the damage done by let's say the pandemic thing, putting people in when we locked all the kids out of their classes, is one of the things you do is to make sure you'd never do it again. Let America be America. It's
right.
It's a platitude. It's not quite a dodge, but it's in the right direction. It's all in the right direction. So anyway, it was just interesting. And who knows? It would be interesting to see. I mean, it's the kind of thing that could cause a spark.
Well, right.
But he's got to be somewhere there's a spark, of course.
Well, right. And you say, that he doesn't know as much on the specifics of things. Well, sure. But, I mean, frankly, having done a lot of stuff kind of adjacent to state politics, do you know how just, completely dumb a lot of people are in state politics are? A lot of them are just really profoundly stupid people.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in states like Massachusetts and I assume Connecticut, where there's a lot of really, really blue districts where nobody's ever gonna challenge you and you're not gonna lose your seat for anything. And Massachusetts has one of the lowest rates even of contested primaries in the country, which is, kind of counterintuitive because you would think that being a blue state, the primaries would be really competitive. But it's it's a very much a machine union politics, incumbent friendly state. So people almost never challenge incumbents. They just wait their turn when the party says it's their time and then they sail to their next seat. And it just rewards people who are so unmotivated and frankly dumb and uninterested in learning things and just who lack intellectual curiosity. I know you've talked to and a lot of state legislators and stuff too. There's state legislators who are awesome out there, and it's really, I find state politics really interesting. I know it's not your cup of tea, but I like state politics a lot. There are a lot of really dumb people in state politics, people who just should not be there, who just coast and they're not going to lose their seat, so they don't care, and they just like to wander the district shaking hands with people and get invited to ribbon cuttings and stuff. There's a lot of people like that. So, I mean, it's completely a learnable job, and you're one out of a lot of people. It's not like he's running for governor and has to do on-the-job learning. You're one out of, I don't know exactly how many Connecticut has, but 100 and whatever legislators. You're going to be fine. You learn it. You have a staff. You have people who write the legislation for you. You don't have to personally. It's not that hard a job. I know that legislators like to pretend they have a really important job that only they can do. But then right up the street, there are states like New Hampshire where they don't pay their legislators anything. So they'll elect just really wacky people. That anybody can run, and people win races all the time who are completely nuts. And their state somehow still trucks along nothing's broken, everything's fine. So, it's not some important profession. Politics is not meant to be a profession. You're supposed to be able to just walk in off the street and figure it out, right? And you have the career government employees who work in the buildings, who know how stuff works, who can explain it to you. And, if you're willing to learn and you have intellectual curiosity about it and you're into state politics, I say, bring in the people off the street. Why not? It can only help our politics, because our politics is so screwed up and crazy, especially in these, totally one-party states.
Okay, Allison, can I change subject with you?
Sure, let's change subjects.
Okay. By the way, we had a long and huge and expansive day, just driving all over the New England. So we'll see. Patreon folks, we love you, and we intend to make good on our covenant with you. We intend to, but I don't know that I don't know that tonight's the night necessarily. But soon. We are rearranging, like I said, rearranging our lives here to make things work better so that everybody gets properly serviced.
I don't know right. If I like that. No.
Not when I say it, anyway. Okay. So just looking at this is the emotions of... I am now, Alice, I think now that I'm mostly dead. My mindset is now defaulting to pull the cord in the suicide vest.
About what in particular?
About generally just defaulting in general. So now that I'm looking at Trump again, not because I think he'd be the best new president, but because the entire establishment needs to be blown up, and he would be the way to do it, and they have it coming, and he would be symbolically the best way to do it.
The thing that bothers me about that is he was there, and he didn't blow up the establishment enough. Clearly, I wish he would have done
Alice,
more.
But you give a guy he did the moon shot and landed on the moon. Fine, he didn't golf and do jumping jacks, but my God, he got there.
I mean, okay, but I don't know. I would hope he's learned from how the federal government treated him during his first presidency.
Okay, so you know what I don't like these just by default, just lifestyle wise. Me and a lot of these Silicon Valley types who do TED Talks are not for me. So I wish violence upon them. One of the very few times I get my heart warms when I think of the existence of pitted bulls is when they'd be attacking somebody doing a TED Talk with a tiny, thin microphone who's using words like stakeholders and this and that. But so I came to the story about Adam Newman. Remember Adam Newman?
Is he the WeWork guy?
He's the WeWork guy. Now,
okay,
I remember vaguely that he did something bad there or whatever. He had the WeWork thing going, and then it wasn't going. Was he have ethical problems or something? I remember, 4 years ago, WeWork was the greatest thing in the world, and then a month later, all these places were boarded up and condemned. Or
he came out still rich. I don't remember the exact details,
but okay. So anyway, he's one of these guys who had a thing that was the thing for a while, the it thing, and then it was not anymore. And WeWork, I think, was offices, just where you could
it was flexible office space. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the problems that existed with the company. I forget exactly how his malfeasance played in, but he definitely was being criticized for something that he did regarding this. But really, a big part of his problem was this wasn't really a tech company. It was really a real estate company.
Right.
They bought a bunch of office space and then rented it to people, basically. And they had a platform, sort of an Airbnb for office space, right? Where you could, but that's not really a unique tech thing. You're just a landlord.
Right. You're an interface with your personalized logo, but really you're dealing in real estate. Right.
Right. So, I mean, and that's struggled. Obviously, I don't even think it made it to the whole pandemic thing, but that's presents another whole issue. But yeah, I mean, it was a company that seemed like a good idea. There was this whole period in Silicon Valley where everybody was like, we're the Uber for X, we're the Uber for dog walking, we're the Uber for office space, and some a very small number of those things worked out. Airbnb is kind of like that, and then there's obviously Lyft is directly an Uber competitor. Grubhub and Uber Eats compete.
Sure,
but very few Uber for whatever models are actually useful, because there's very few things that you need in that kind of sporadic way. If you get an Uber for a dog walker, you might as well just hire the dog walker. Once you hire them once on the Uber thing, if you need the dog walker every day, you might as well just hire them and not pay the app percent, So there's a problem. There was sort of a bubble of those types of companies in Silicon Valley, and I kind of put that in that category a little bit. But
okay, so let me read the story.
So Adam Newman's back, apparently.
So investors slam WeWork founder Adam Newman's disgusting comeback. Controversial WeWork founder Adam Neumann is raking in massive amounts of investor cash for his new real estate startup, but some venture capitalists are cringing at the comeback plan. After news broke on Monday that Newman's new residential real estate startup, Flow, had raised a reported $350 million from prominent venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz at a valuation north of $1 billion. Can we go ask somebody for this kind of money? It's a Flow, sir. North of $1 billion, several tech investors and founders reacted angrily. This is disgusting, Kate Braddock, CEO of the startup Switch and a general partner at the W Fund, wrote on Twitter. So this is why I am put on the side of, I am now aligning myself, aligning is a thing, right? Mm-hmm. Or aligning myself with Adam Neumann. I'm an Adam Neumann person then. Because this is her tweet.
Because he's just bold enough to go out and ask for money.
No, this is her tweet. Mm-hmm. Kate Braddock, blue check, who is CEO of the startup Switch and a general partner at W Fund, wrote on Twitter, I'm sure Kate Braddock also has hundreds of millions of dollars and is filthy rich like all these other people, etc.
Right.
She says, this is disgusting. A16s, that's the people who gave him the money. At the Andreessen Horowitz, A16's largest check going to a founder of one of the most toxic companies we've seen. Firms like this perpetuate over and over again a traditional system that favors small, homogeneous set of founders. Don't look.
Okay.
Now, there's something I omitted from that. She actually said A16's largest check going to a, parentheses,
cis white man?
Straight white male. Mm-hmm. Founder of one of the most toxic companies. I'm now with him. I don't give a flying F. She is a filthy, bigot, dumbass, divisive, small-brained POS. And so I'm with him. I don't care if she makes my lisinopril that I take for high blood pressure and does it at a... I don't care. I don't care. All the people that think like her need to be disenfranchised in somewhere else. They suck.
Right. His problem isn't that he's a cis white male. It's that his company sucked. So, I mean, but if he's convinced people to give him more money, then, like, fine. I guess good for him.
Straight white male. It's a problem. Largest check going to a straight white male. 3 things wrong with him. Straight, white, and male. Now, if he decided to have sex in a different way with fellows instead, then that makes it a little less bad.
Apparently.
I am all for this guy. I am all for it.
Woman.
I'm going to support him and donate to the company.
Don't donate to them.
I'm donating.
Okay.
All right, so I'm out of stuff. Anything else?
Yes, there's lots going
on. Go ahead,
on.
please. Take
Why
it away.
are you?
I'm out of stuff.
I know you're out
exhausted.
of stuff, but
this is why we have to redo the schedule.
We'll talk offline about.
We can talk online too. I mean, we're going to redo the schedule. Probably going to go down to the 3 days at some point, and then do the other days to do other stuff. But we're working on it right now. And this does not go down to 3 days because it's a hassle. But although it can be, but with block scheduling like this, there are times when everybody loses, including the podcast. So that's what we're going to do. Right.
That's true. So anyway, one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is this Boston Children's Hospital thing, which I hadn't been like super interested in this story, to be honest with you, because frankly, like, I know Boston Children's Hospital is woke. I live in this state. Every medical office and every hospital is woke and nuts. And so, like, and yeah, they're a premier children's hospital, and the mania about the trans stuff is happening among children. Like, of course they're going to get in on it. They're super woke. Of course they support all the trans BS. Like, it doesn't... I mean, so Libs of TikTok was tweeting videos this week of their providers, talking about how they do surgeries on, young people, and, vaginoplasties, phalloplasties, like hysterectomies so that you can never have children. Like it doesn't, the chopping off breasts is just part one. Like, but the horrors of this stuff, it's really like Frankenstein's monster stuff. So, Libs of TikTok, she put out here some of these videos of these providers talking about that. These are videos they put up on their website. She didn't like hack anybody or secretly record anybody doing anything. She just put out their public videos and tweeted them out to her followers and said, this is disgusting, right? So these are videos that they were proud of and had put out there in the universe. In typical Libs of TikTok fashion, this was viewed as an attack. And, she added a little bit of commentary saying like they want to do these crazy surgeries on children. They want to do hysterectomies on children. They want to cut up the genitals of children. Like, this is nuts, essentially. And so then they came for her. And she got fact-checked. So PolitiFact came and wrote a big piece saying, like, Libs of TikTok says they're doing this stuff on children, but they're absolutely not. If you go to their website, it says right there that they only do vaginoplasties on people 18 and older. Case solved, rated false, end of discussion. So I read this fact check the other day, and I thought to myself briefly, like, what are the chances that the, quote, reporter at PolitiFact that's going for the facts checked, like, the Wayback Machine or another internet archive or asked them any questions about if that has always been their policy or how long it's been their policy or anything like that? The answer is they did not do any of that grounding research. As it turns out, Libs of TikTok has screenshots of the same page of their website from August 12th, just before all this happened. And it didn't say 18, it said 17. So they absolutely had a policy of doing those exact surgeries on minors.
Up. What are they, crazy?
So they changed their website after the Libs of TikTok videos started to garner a bunch of terrorism. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. They started to garner all this attention that they're now calling stochastic terrorism. So this is like the word of the week that everybody on the left is saying about this Boston Children's Hospital thing. Stochastic terrorism, which basically is a fancy word for saying somebody said mean stuff about us and then it made people mad at us. Right. So it's like that it's supposed to be like inspiring lone wolf attacks. Right. So the rhetoric is stochastic terrorism. So this has been like in everybody's
stochastic terrorism.
Stochastic terrorism. So remember that because you're about to hear a lot more of it because the FBI stuff is about to be called stochastic terrorism too. This is what everybody's into like this. So yeah, but like what a screw up, not only by Children's Hospital to immediately go out and change their webpage and not just like take down the whole page or something, but also the quote fact checker. Like, do you not know that the internet has archive pages? Like, is that not something you're aware of as a internet fact checker? Is that not something you can do? Did you not reach out to them for comment? That's incredible to me. So that they ran with, and they haven't corrected the story. She put out there the screenshots of their website showing that days before, August 12th, 2022, their website said 17 and up, you can get hysterectomies. So, I mean, like, so they're coming out here and saying that's absolutely not, we don't do these surgeries on children. That's ridiculous. We merely give them totally reversible and harmless off-label puberty blockers that prevent them from developing normal puberty and a normal adult sexuality. That's totally reversible and fine and awesome. And we do that, but we definitely don't, which already like, the goalposts have moved so far by that point that you're like pumping a bunch of 11-year-olds and minors full of drugs to like stop the normal processes of their body and like make them a lifelong pharmaceutical patient because of like your weird ideology. Like that's fine. But at least we're not doing the really serious destructive surgeries until they're 18. The second we turn 18, then we do the crazy destructive surgeries that ruin their lives. That's what we do then the second they turn 18. But they actually just were lying. They do the surgeries on people younger than that too. Certainly top surgery, but they focused in particular on the hysterectomies and vaginoplasties. And
who the frig gets into this
medical field?
Right.
It seems insane to me.
I want to do gruesome experimental things.
Yeah, I want to
no
cut
basis
pieces
in anything.
off children's arms and then create a
Jesus,
fake penis for them. That
gross.
Seems great. Like it's so weird and screwed up. And then they would turn around and say that people like us are obsessed with trans kids. Like, and like obsessed with their genital. Like, no, you're the one who's weird and creepy about genital. Like, I can't. It's so insane, but the lying is what's incredible to me. The fact that the PolitiFact person didn't bother to check, and the fact that Boston Children's Hospital just blatantly lied about it, too. So then, this woman, Alejandra Caraballo, I guess, wise Latina, clinical instructor, Harvard Law, Cyber Law Clinic, Gender and Tech, whose Twitter handle is Esquire. She has bylines in Slate, Wired, and uses she, her pronouns. But anyway, she has this whole Twitter thread about this, that she goes, people are celebrating the fact that providers at BCH are being harassed and receiving death threats. These fascists know exactly what they're doing by sending a mob after doctors and medical staff. Well, maybe just don't lie about what you're doing. If you're so proud of it and it's so great, just leave the 17 years old on your website. You're the ones that do the surgeries. Just don't lie. I don't know. Next time you see people like J.K. Rowling crying about a threat on Twitter, just remember that the average trans person or medical provider being inundated in threats as a result of all the anti-trans harassment campaigns. They don't have private security and a castle to hide in. And then she posts, because people have been posting online like internal emails from BCH panicking and emailing out all the employees saying like, forward on all the threats you're getting. They're like freaking out. So people are posting these emails on Twitter. She goes, also, F the employee who's putting their colleagues in danger by acting as a collaborator in the harassment campaign. I hope they're found and immediately fired. Twitter's just sitting on their butts while libs of TikTok, Matt Walsh, Chris Rufo, and Billboard Chris use this platform
Who's the last one?
Billboard Chris. He's somebody who's been tweeting about this too. I don't really know him. Use this platform to drive a stochastic terrorism campaign across Boston Children's Hospital. Is it going to take a provider getting killed for them to act? What do you think libs of TikTok's followers see when she posts something like this? It's the equivalent of, won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest? When someone acts on it, they'll inevitably distance themselves. It was just a lone wolf. So, yeah, so this is like where we are with this children's hospital stuff. And I'm intrigued to see where this goes because, I mean, I don't obviously want, and everybody would clearly say they don't want the hospital to be harassed. But like you always say, it's like the soccer player, like, you're the one doing these crazy surgeries and stuff. And you're the ones who put these videos out here saying what you do. You're the ones who had on your website that you do these surgeries, that you're talking about proudly in public videos, that you do them on 17-year-olds. You were proud of this. This was on your website. This is just people posting what you do. And when there's some kind of backlash against it, when people, it turns out, think that what you're doing is macabre and crazy and insane and damaging children, it turns out that then you've been wounded and you fall down and cry about it. Just like the FBI is doing with this Mar-a-Lago stuff. Just, oh my goodness, we've been terrorismed because we did something that people don't like and now we're getting criticized for it. Like, sorry, you made the videos that you put out there. Like, nobody's lying about you. Nobody's doing anything to you. Like, nothing's happening. Like, you went out there and said that you proudly do these nuts surgeries on kids. That was you. Like, you did it. I don't know. Like, you made the video being all proud that you do this. Like, if you're proud of it, you're proud of it. Go for it.
Can you imagine, though, talking about what we talked about yesterday, about living in an echo chamber, imagine being so cloistered that you assume you'll only get plaudits.
Right. But that's what they think. They're shocked to learn that there are other opinions on these issues and that most people's just mouths drop open when you talk about the surgeries that you do on trans kids. You know, I mean, it's so horrific and people don't realize because, like, the trans movement puts on this nice face of, like, cute TLC shows and, you know, fun little NBC News specials, right?
How is Jazz doing these days?
Oh, terrible. Terrible. It's extremely sad. what her family and her medical providers have done to her.
Just think, we saw that abuse front and center. They celebrated.
They made a show about it.
Yeah.
They exploited this and you see it. I mean, even Fox News had that clip during Pride Month. Remember, they showed the family with the trans kid. We're just like, yeah, this is great. So they put this nice face on it. Oh, it's just a haircut. Just let him wear the other. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just so much better to have a living daughter than a dead son. Like all the things that they, But it doesn't change the underlying reality of what this stuff ultimately means and what you're putting your kid on a path towards when you do this. Because you're heading them towards an end result. And it's your job as a parent and as like a medical provider, by the way, to inform people honestly about what these choices are going to end up as. And like adults don't seem to have a problem doing that when it comes to like telling their kids not to smoke or telling their kids not to drink. I mean, well, some parents seem to have a problem telling their kids not to drink. There's always the ones that, give the kids the alcohol and get somebody killed and then end up on the hook for it, right? But, most parents understand that you need to limit your kid from making choices that they might regret down the road and not just nod along and say yes to every crazy thing that your kid comes up with that they want to do. Get a tattoo, pierce their whole face, whatever it is. Like, your job as a parent and as I say, like a doctor, it's a doctor's job to tell a kid who's 14 and starts smoking, like, smoking's fun and harmless right now at this moment. And you might not care that you have a cough and whatever, but you're doing yourself some real long-term damage down the road, and you need to stop doing this. And it's so extremely that we've made laws against letting young people do it. And in a lot of ways, limited adults from making those choices too, in terms of the additional taxes, in terms of like not having places to live. A lot of times people won't rent to smokers. You can't smoke inside. You can't smoke in restaurants and bars. Like, we've on purpose made it really difficult for people to choose smoking because we know it's really bad for them. So like, people do wrap their minds around this stuff when it comes to some things, which I think is like where this trans stuff is going to end up. Which is going to be, it's like going to be for adults. And like, if you want to do it, more power to you, but we're not going to give you money to do it because you're harming yourself, right? Like, you're destroying your body that works just fine and is great. And like, I think down the road that people are going to see this like that, like encouraging kids to smoke or something like that, because it's so destructive.
I think it's going to be much more serious. I mean, smoking is inhaling things that will be corrosive to your lungs, etc. They're amputating the breasts of a healthy young girl who's confused for life. That's freaking medieval dark. That's ISIS level craziness.
It's so insane. It's like
So I've got one thing. Do you have one thing, or are you done?
I did have one more thing, but you go first.
No, let me hear your one more thing.
I'm scrolling back to it, so you go ahead
on
your thing.
Seth Dillon of the Babylon Bee joined Joe Rogan today, Alice.
Oh, interesting.
And they had a little conversation. And Joe Rogan.
He also, I believe, funds Libs of TikTok. I think they paid her.
So remember, we said that Rogan is
Could be wrong about that. Don't quote, but I'll look it up. Sorry, go ahead.
That Rogan is the perfect person to, in a lot of ways, to distill, what is BS and what is okay. And here we go.
You don't have the right to tell my 14-year-old daughter she has to carry her rapist baby. You understand that?
To look that woman in the eye who was born of a rape.
Do you understand that? That's a 14-year-old child. If a 14-year-old child gets raped, you say that they have to carry that baby?
I don't think two wrongs make a right. I don't think murder is an answer to. I don't think murder fixes a rape.
What if we're talking about an abortion when the fetus, literally it's like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 days? What if she just turned positive just now, positive for pregnancy?
I just disagree that.
What if it just happened today?
You can draw a line on when.
You can't.
Once life has begun, I don't think you draw lines.
At the very moment.
I would lay it out.
Pretty ballsy answer by Seth Dillon. I would have gone with the 6 week thing, taken the deal right there. Yep, that's no problem then. Especially since Rogan here, it seems to have a robust gin and tonic swinging around.
It is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human life. Abortion intentionally kills an innocent human life. Therefore, abortion is wrong. And I don't think any of the examples of how developed is it? Can it think? Is it conscious? Can it dream? Can it feel pain?
So for you, it's the moment of conception.
I think that if it's a human life, a distinct human life, then I think it's wrong to end its life. And
so you think that
do
you think that once the conception happens, there's some sort of a miraculous event, like at the very moment, like you could literally get to the point where the sperm cracks the egg. If you could scoop that egg out right there, would that be abortion?
Well, I mean,
by the way, Rogan's talking like people do. It's great.
At some point, you're going to have to say there was a magic moment that happened because you believe that we eventually become valuable humans, right?
Well, listen,
where's the moment where you think the magic happened? When we start talking about harmful misinformation and the types of things that are considered, like that I say or that we tweet or the jokes that we make that are considered harmful misinformation, I'm like, well, what about calling that baby a clump of cells? I think that's harmful misinformation because then you're encouraging people to kill it like it's nothing when it's actually a human life. It's a developing human life. I think abortion is healthcare the way that rape is lovemaking. If we want to use rape as an example, I think they're opposites, and it's like these are euphemisms that we use. You know, we use the word healthcare. We're talking about a procedure that ends an innocent human life, and we're calling it healthcare. That's like calling rape lovemaking.
And this is why it's such a human issue, because I see what you're saying. Life is valuable. Like, yes, and people almost were the victims of abortion, and they weren't. They went on to become these amazing people, and we would have lost them.
Sometimes it's a failed abortion. Like there's people who've survived like a saline abortion, and they're damaged as a result of it, but they lived, and now they're born. They usually go on, ironically enough, to become pro-life activists.
Oh, well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild. But it makes sense. I mean, if that's what made you, wouldn't you be a pro-life activist?
Probably would be.
I think it's huge that in the Joe Rogan podcast that discussion is happening.
Yeah, I think more people need to have those conversations without getting labeled like haters or
well, right. But Rogan also
is
from my generation. You were not a wise young man at 22 years old if in a room full of mixed company you decided, you know what, let's have this debate.
Of course. Well, and I think Gen X is sort of interesting like that because, Gen X tends to be a pretty conservative generation overall, but not that much on issues like abortion or gay marriage and stuff. Like they tend to not be as socially conservative. And this isn't something that I've like looked into that closely in the data, but this is just like my feeling on Gen X people that I know. I do know that it's true. It's true in the data that Gen X is a conservative generation compared to like the boomers or millennials, right? Where they were at the same age. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's true. But I do think that, those debates in particular, like the abortion debate, was so settled when Gen X was coming up, kind of. It was like so like just done with, like there wasn't any chance it was going to be overturned anytime soon. Like,
well, but that thing came out in 92, didn't it?
Yeah, Casey, right? But then that was like doubly settled, right? So this is like the time when Gen X is now like can vote and has become adults, is like right around the time this issue was like done. Everyone just gets abortions, the end. Like, we're not having this debate anymore. So they kind of like, they came of age politically in a world where that was not an issue. And then, the gay marriage thing happened a little bit later, but also like, as Gen X was, in the phase of adulthood, kind of like the cool people, like South Park is happening and stuff. The humor is not culturally conservative. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So I think that Gen X, and I think that this relates to kind of like the Portnoy conservative vein that we've talked about before. Like, I think that we're talking about people who are like stoolies, right? Who are like kind of conservative about some stuff, but like on cultural issues really don't care. But I do think that like abortion in particular is an issue that people need to talk about more. And I think like as we've gotten better science than the 70s or even more better science since the 90s, it's something that's going to have to be reevaluated. And it's going to have to be reevaluated, in a way like Joe Rogan is doing it. Right? In a way where it's like people having a conversation and really talking about what they think and wrestling through the issues. And like, because the alternative is that we like end in violence. If we don't figure out a way to get along and talk about stuff, then stuff ends in violence, right? Which like goes back to what we talked about yesterday too. Like, the left saying that like we shouldn't get along, we shouldn't allow certain views, we shouldn't talk about stuff, we shouldn't learn about other people's perspectives and learn where they're coming from and try and like identify with them and understand their point of view. That's wrong. That's bad. Well, like, what's the alternative to that? What's the alternative to the types of conversations Rogan's having and people deciding to figure out how to get along and deciding to talk to people and really hearing what they're saying about things? Right? It's like ultimately civil war is the alternative.
All right. You had one last piece, or are you ready to go?
We can head out.
So we'll play one chat message.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, Alice, I have to run to the lobby and meet a friend of mine. I got to make sure that we get that thing, that thing with Tootie. We got to do that thing. I'll be right back.
Half an hour later.
Yeah, he handed me this.
He handed me this.
Yeah, so, just keep riffing.
That is incorrect,
That's
scurrilous.
that
is incorrect and scurrilous. It has been proven, and Alice has a police record. You can look at the Roxbury District Court, year of our Lord 2007, arrested for minor possession of cocaine in Roxbury. As a matter of fact, she is there. You can,
incorrect. You can look that up. It's not there.
Yeah, it's Alice Shattuck, Shattuck, Social Security 034991463. All right, Alice. Good message. I appreciate that. I was not doing caned coke.
Might as well have been.
Somebody from Redwood Forest sent us something yesterday, which Alice indulged in a little too much. I'm just saying
I don't think that's accurate. And I don't think anybody thinks it's
I eschewed it as usual.
I think people saw the real you last night. Thank you. So... But anyway, we thank you all for listening. We promise we're going to do an extra Patreon show this week. We are sorry. We have been on the road. Everything went wrong today, but it was fine. But we made it back here. We did the main show, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. You can find us at burnbarrelpodcast.com. Write us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.
C'est la vie.